Off day for the Texans. It's very, very cold around here. And we got some news. Derek Stingley named All-Pro. Let's just hop right into that before we get into the 4 potential results of this game and what exactly that would look like. It is SNL, Landry Locker, Cody Stoots with you. Derek Stingley All-Pro. This one's interesting. We talked about this at the start of the season. We knew that the extension would be a possibility for Stingley after 3 years. Here we are, though. The first time that he's been healthy over the course of an entire season. He carries over how he finished last year. And now you got to think he's operating with the leverage of being one of, if not the highest paid cornerback in the league, which completely speeds up the next phase of this process for the Texans.
Yeah, Stingley did a fantastic job staying healthy, first of all. I mean, look, there was times last year where when he was healthy and playing, he was one of the best cornerbacks in football, but he missed half of the season due to injury. And that was the biggest knock coming into his career was, hey, this guy has injury concerns. He was healthy 1 year in college. He had one of the greatest seasons a cornerback's ever had in college when he was healthy, but he hasn't been healthy since then. Well, he wasn't healthy his first 2 years, but there were signs and there were moments. Certainly the finish to last season was probably the biggest indicator that there's something great with Derek Stingley and that he puts it together for an entire season this year, stays healthy. He's excellent. He gets interceptions, which is what some other cornerbacks don't do on a regular basis. He follows from time to time, and then he takes care of his business on his side of the field. A well-deserved All-Pro, and as you mentioned, it's going to be very expensive to sign him. You got to imagine that he's looking at $25 million a year, which is more than what Jalen Ramsey makes, which is more than what Pat Surtain makes. And you got to think, too, there's a little bit of a game of chicken to go on with Derek Stingley and Sauce Gardner because whoever signs first is the next guy's going to ask for a little bit more. So it'd be intriguing offseason conversations for the Texans and Derek Stingley because you definitely would love to get a deal done. And maybe there's some built-in protection from a link standpoint, things like that. But the average cost per year is going to be very expensive.
Well, and my thing is this, and I kind of touched on this at the start of the season, and the hypothetical was if he plays a full season, he's going to be one of the best corners in the league. And that was the conversation we were saying. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. And that's what I said at the start. I think I was with Pep Hamilton and Chancellor and DJ Bieneme, and they said, who has the most, the Texans award, who has the biggest chance? And they both said CJ Stroud. And I said Derek Stingley because we know for a fact when he's on the field, he's elite. Like that question had been answered. We just didn't know if he could stay on the field the whole time. And that ended up playing out. But my thing is this. I get what you're saying from his perspective. And the reason this is significant is because now the Texans are going to have to start making tough decisions that teams that put together a large array of talent have to make, how you divide the pie and how you distribute the salary. And if you have bad contracts like Titus Howard, Shaq Mason, it's one thing to have them now when you have all these guys on rookie deals. But if that type of incompetence can really, really, really screw you over when Will Anderson's one of the highest paid edge guys in the league, and Derek Stingley's one of the highest paid corners in the league, and CJ Stroud's one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, the consequence for that is much higher. But from Nick Caserio's point of view and from the organizational point of view, and this is where I hope D'Amico Ryans can kind of eliminate just being so blowhard players coach. And I don't think he will be on the business side of things, but does one season of health eliminate the previous half decade or whatever it was of not being able to stay on the field? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of the question, because we see it a lot in sports where a guy's mediocre for 3 years and then in his contract year, and he used to always draft guys in their contract year in fantasy. It was kind of one of our running bits, contract year Stoots. Like you see them perform to the highest level. And we know Sting is going to, everything that Sting can control, he's going to control. Everything about Sting you want in your locker room, he's going to be on the team. But in these negotiations, you kind of got to look at both sides. From his point of view, you should absolutely say, I'm one of the best corners in the league. You are. I proved it this year. You did. I proved it last year. I did. But from the Texans' point of view, I don't think that you just completely wipe away those question marks that had a larger sample size than the sample size of Derek Stingley being healthy from beginning to end. So I don't know if you meet in the middle there. I think the Texans are going to have to budge, but I do think it's going to be an interesting negotiation.
I do wonder what the give back is, because it can't just be, well, give me the most money per year and give me the most years of any of these cornerbacks. Surtain signed a 4-year deal. Ramsey's new contract was a 3-year deal. Like, there's got to be some sort of give back. So, 4 or 5 year deal, that probably shouldn't be on the table if he's going to get the amount of money per year that he wants. If he wants a longer deal, well, then you got to give back some of the money. So it will be an interesting back and forth negotiation. And one season of health doesn't mean the guy's never going to get hurt again. They just went through that with Nico Collins. It's a very different situation because Nico had one good season and really hadn't shown anything outside of that one good season, but there's still injury concerns, and they got a pretty good discount on him. I can't imagine they're getting that on Derek Stingley. Like, I can't imagine they're going to get the big discount like they did on Nico.
But I do think there should be some pushback. That's all I'm saying. I do think there should be some pushback to where you don't just wipe away the question marks that we had that kind of played out the first 2 years.
No, I totally agree with you on that. And you got to sign a contract that takes care of the player, but doesn't significantly hinder. It hinders you to do something because of the nature of the how big the contract's going to be. But you can't just be hamstrung by a contract if a guy's not playing 16, 17 games every year. You can't just be hamstrung by a bad contract. So there has to be give and take, push and shove. And it's not going to be an easy negotiation because it's pretty easy to see what Stingley's people would ask for. I'm the best. I'm the last guy to sign, or I'm the most recent guy to sign. Give me money, give me years. And the Texans have to be like, well, come on now.
And it's kind of interesting because, and it is SNL. We appreciate y'all for coming through. Hope you're staying warm, getting ready for this wonderful next 4 days of football, which, by the way, God, it was 5 days yesterday. What if it's anything like what we saw yesterday, it's going to be amazing. But it's like when you talk about CJ Stroud, I think no matter what happens, he's going to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL, no matter what. Like, you see it with Trevor Lawrence. You see it, like, whether he takes the next step or not, chances are that's going to happen. But he's trying to get to elite. Will Anderson's trying to be one of the elite edge guys in the league. I'm talking about the guys that you're going to pay next. When he's on the field, he's elite. Like, there's not a question about that. And the other thing is, I like his makeup. I like Will's and CJ's too. Will's a little bit more. As far as the makeup of what you want to where the best could be yet to come. Derek Stingley just wants to play football, PlayStation, and chill and really not talk much. That's pretty much him. He wants to hang out with his pops, hang out with his girl, and just do his thing. Zach Rose on the swarm in the super chat. You ain't never swarm. Bets on Chargers trumpet man being in the stands. What a weird guy Chargers trumpet man was yesterday, saying he was world famous. I figured that we were going to click on it. It was going to be like Chiefs-aholic. Yeah, he ain't famous. Let's be serious.
Poor Chargers trumpet man got crushed.
All right, so we're getting to the offseason. Okay.
Andy thinks the season's ending this weekend. He's ready for the offseason.
He would not be alone. Andy says, who are the top 3 receivers you would like the Texans to trade for this upcoming offseason if the budget permits? All right, so we're talking trades. No thank you to Tyreek Hill. Absolutely not.
Zero interest in that. No
Hell no. I would say Garrett Wilson would have to be at the top of everyone's list. It would be expensive, but you have 2 years of the rookie deal left. His chemistry with CJ Stroud. I do think if they hire Mike Vrabel, I think Mike Vrabel is going to be very opposed to trading a young number 1 caliber receiver. I think that would be a PTSD situation for him. They also have the Ohio State connection. So if you're hoping for that, I would think you would not want Mike Vrabel to be anyone with common sense wouldn't want to trade Garrett Wilson. If we're being honest, like, if you're
correct.
Like, let's just be serious. Like, it would be like, if you're a head coach and you're taking the Jets job, Aaron Wilson, Devontae Adams, cute little like Hall of Fame game type experiment that y'all had last year, but you don't want to trade Garrett Wilson. But Garrett Wilson would obviously be at the top. And then you would have to think, like, for me, in a perfect situation with the Texans, if you could find a situation where maybe like a Jerry Jeudy situation where someone's just really underachieving with their team and you can maybe kick the tires and get some sort of production out of them, I think that would be a dream scenario. I'd be lying if I said I really looked at that. I've been looking more so at like rookies, but I think it would be like a low level type of trade.
So when I think about this, I think about teams that from a financial standpoint maybe don't want to keep paying the guy the money and have somebody ready to replace him. And the guy that fits the bill on that one, Cooper Kupp. He's a little bit older. Maybe it's slowed down a little bit, but Cooper Kupp would be a guy that I would think about if I was the Texans. I mean, he could come in here and immediately be your slot guy with Nico outside. So that's a guy that I would think about.
They have Puka and they have Jordan Whittington now, who they like a little bit too.
Right.
Cheap.
Would you call the Chicago Bears about DJ Moore? I feel like he would be revived in a better situation. Yeah, he almost had 100 catches and 1,000 yards this year.
DJ Moore. I like DJ Moore. The only thing that makes me nervous about DJ Moore, Bobby would run 25 reverses a game with him, man.
and then
dude, it would be at least 5 reverses a game with DJ Moore if Bobby Slowick got DJ Moore in his offense.
Yeah, you're certainly right about that. And then the other name that I thought about, it's really not a name as much as you call the Seahawks and you ask them who the odd man out is.
Yeah, DK. It's DK.
Or
Lockett too old for you?
No. Yeah, you call the Seahawks. Hey, I know you're not keeping DK and Lockett. So who are you getting rid of? And can I trade for that player?
Yeah, I like both of those guys. I like Lockett a lot. I've always been a big Lockett guy.
Can you imagine DK Metcalf and Nico Collins?
Kind of freakish.
That'd be
freakish.
Also, I like DK's mentality too.
Plus, DK has some speed, man. They need someone who has they need like a vertical threat. But yeah, I like where your head's at with Seattle, the Garrett Wilson pipe dream, the Cooper Kupp. I think those are all good possibilities.
And then, I mean, I could throw you 10 names of like end of roster guys, but none of those guys really excite you. Like,
yeah.
But
we both agree hell no to Tyreek.
Zero interest in Tyreek Hill.
0. 100%.
Zero.
Yeah. He's already saying he wants back in Miami. That guy's an idiot.
I'd call and see if they want to trade Waddle.
That guy's an idiot, dude. Evan McKinley says, Landry, you're fired, bro. Stoots has confidence. That's fair.
I mean, Landry sees it his way. I see it my way. I don't think there's a wrong way to approach the analyzation of this game.
Gavin says, if Nick in the front office pursue defense heavy this offseason and continue to neglect the offense, is it time to start questioning Nick and D'Amico? What is the dream way to attack the offense? I don't think there's any chance in hell that they neglect the offense this offseason.
No,
I
they're going to go after it.
And as much as we say neglect, you have limited resources in years, and you just can't attack everything. But I would bet very heavily against that being the case. But if they did do that, then you are absolutely right, my friend. It would be time to question them. No
doubt. As far as dream way to attack the offense, I'd say draft a offensive weapon in the first round, either Tyler Warren, the Penn State tight end, or a wide receiver. Make sure you add a capable backup running back behind Joe Mixon, and just go find some toughness along the offensive line. Just some guys that are lunch pail, show up. It's another thing. This is going to sound weird, but I think there's something to it. I don't think the offensive linemen for the Texans are gross enough. I feel like offensive linemen are supposed to be gross.
No, every time I see, and this is my bit with you and screw it, I'll just say it. You, me, and Kunkel, McLovin, and Jonah Hill. We have a group chat, and every time that we're watching a game, and someone pushes a pile, or yesterday when the offensive lineman fell on the fumble in the Notre Dame game at the end of the second half or the second quarter, I say Tunsil wouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But I just mean from like in the locker room, like it's just about 2014, like Chris Myers, Dwayne Brown, Wade Smith, like a bunch of those linemen used to all be right next to each other. And like, they'd be gross all the time. Like Chris Myers would be walking, like you could smell him coming from across the locker room. And then even talking to him, like
Chris,
like Chris had some grittiness. You could have some kind of, off the wall conversations with him. Like, I just don't think there's enough grossness to this offensive line. Like, there's a lot of really nice dressing and, this and that.
You're talking about two guys, though. Like, you're talking about Laramie and Titus.
Like, I just want some more.
You're talking about two guys.
I want some nasty individuals along that offensive line.
I just don't. The Hollywood O lineman doesn't do it for me.
I want to be disgusted by their presentation.
Okay. Evan says, "Do we go after Ronnie Stanley?" No, they don't. No. You got Fisher, and then you're gonna have Tunsil, whatever. Nah, Landry, you're good, man. Like both your content. Do we draft O-line or draft Mace or trade Mason? I don't know that anyone's going to trade for Mason or Green unless it's like a low-level thing.
There's no – I mean, the only thing you could do with Kenyon Green is you find another team's Kenyon Green at a different position, and you take their Kenyon Green and they get your Kenyon Green.
Yeah.
What we don't need –
Hygiene don't need to be bad to play O-line. So, yeah.
I'm just saying I think you need a mix of individuals. And they need a gross guy. They need a gross guy on their offensive line.
All right. So, contrary to what the fan base may be thinking, and the SNL / locker room / Cody Stoots YouTube channel community, the season is not over. As a matter of fact, the Texans have a football game tomorrow.
That they do.
Big football game. Some people think the Texans will win. People think the Texans will lose. This is one of those games where no result would really surprise me. So I want to go through the 4 potential results of wins, and I want to try to use our imagination, throwback Barney, and talk about what each of these scenarios looks like. And let's start with a close win. What does a Texans close win look like?
Oh, man, it probably looks something like a 1917. A lot of Kaimi Fairbairn field goals. Defense does a really, really good job. Couple of stall outs that lead to, some kicking by the Texans offense, but you still got to put one touchdown drive on the board. So I would tell you kind of like 1917, really good defensive performance from the Texans and a bunch of field goals from the Texans.
I would say it looks kind of like the Miami game where a couple of turnovers give you opportunities in the red zone, and you're able to capitalize with 10 points, 17 total. I would say it kind of looks like what the Dolphins game looked like, and you make Justin Herbert look a little bit pedestrian, much like you did Tua. Although I don't anticipate him looking like Tua did. That was just kind of rough. But I would say that's what it looks like. What is it close?
Did you happen to read to the bottom of Houston football this morning?
To the very bottom?
Yeah, like the last little section.
No.
Okay, so Herbert versus top half of the league scoring defenses. Okay, so 16 to the top. Herbert versus those type of defenses averages 1 touchdown and 225 passing yards. That is not an incredible day at the office. The Chargers are 2-6 in those games. They played 8 teams, and they played 8 teams in the top 16 of scoring defense, and he has 225 yards and a touchdown average in those 8 games.
Not great.
The Texans are 14th in scoring defense, in case you're wondering at home.
Yeah, they're a really, really good defense. But what does the LA close win look like? I think it looks kind of like most of the losses that we've seen the Texans have this year. Like, if we're being completely honest, I think that's kind of what it looks like. Just the inability to take advantage of opportunities. We probably see CJ Stroud interception, and in your own territory. I think it looks kind of what we've seen from the Texans a couple of times. Maybe a second half meltdown.
Yeah.
See Detroit.
That's what I was thinking of. Is it probably involves a 1/2 no-show by the Texans, and they keep it close, or maybe even have a lead because they play well in 1/2, and then maybe in the second half it's not there, a la Detroit. The Lions rushing game got going in that second half, in addition to the offense not being able to do anything, which was disgusting to watch. But yeah, it sort of looks like a half a football no-show from the Texans, and then the Chargers do what they do, which is take advantage of your mistakes, don't make any mistakes, and they put enough on the board.
All right, what does the Texans blowout look like? For me, this looks like Nico Collins with over like 115 yards, him and CJ clicking, Joe Mixon doing his thing, and then just forcing turnovers of Justin Herbert, 2 interceptions, whatever. But for the Texans to blow a team out, Nico Collins has to have a massive day. That's it. There's not going to be like a spread the ball out type of thing. It's one guy. The Texans, I don't think I've seen a team in a long time that has as clear of like a drop off from the number one option down. A lot of that has to do with injuries, obviously. But even then, they were unable to get other guys going and all these guys going at the same time. But I think if the Texans are going to blow out the Chargers, and let's say like 10 points or more, Nico Collins is going to have to go off.
It's the first half of Buffalo replicated for a whole game, basically. Like they made Josh Allen look pedestrian for most of a game, and Nico Collins obviously had the tremendous start. He left with the injury, but he had whatever it was, 80-something yards on the first drive. Like if you took that first half from the Buffalo game, copy-pasted it into the second half, they would have smoked the Bills. They settled for a bunch of field goals in the second half, and Buffalo got going. But if you're the Texans are going to blow somebody out, it's the Bills' first half times 2 against the Chargers, and then they'd probably win by 30.
Times 2,
if that's
man.
the case.
God, times 2.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like you take the first half and you have it twice. Like it's very hard to do. That's why this is the least likely of all the 4 scenarios, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Chargers blowout. I think the Texans offense looks like it has looked, and we see just something that the Chargers have noticed from this Texans defense, which I just think I still insist you can attack the middle of this defense, the safeties, the linebackers in coverage. It just seems like no team has really committed to doing that. And it's been surprising because I feel like some of these teams have had the ability to. I guess we saw, the big play that turned around the Titans game was kind of an example of that. But I think if we finally see an opposing offense attack the linebackers in coverage or getting Eric Murray in coverage, then I think that's what it looks like. And then just the offensive line just looking like they did against Minnesota, where they're just getting physically beat up. They're disorganized. This is at worst the third most likely scenario, but it's a lot easier to imagine than it is the Texans blowing them out, if I'm being honest with you.
Right. I would put this as number 3. I'd tell you that most people believe Chargers close win is the most likely, Texans close win second most likely. The offensive line no shows, and you can't do anything on offense. That's it. That's you have a Green Bay performance, you have a Colts home game performance from the offensive line. You're going to lose this football game, and you're going to lose this football game by a tremendous amount. So the offensive line's got to be much, much better than some of those valleys that we saw in the middle of the season.
I think you have, and I don't pretend to be like some offensive guru, but you have to get Joe Mixon involved in the pass game. Like that over 3.5 receptions, over under 3.5, you have to surpass that. Like he has to be a factor. They like to move Derwin James around a lot, which it can wreck games, but that you can also catch them out of position. Like in certain situations, if your best defensive player is not paying attention to Joe Mixon. And you haven't really displayed Joe Mixon in the pass game. Like if there's any extra element on the offensive side of the rock for the Texans, it's the element and the possibility of getting Joe Mixon involved in the pass game. Sometimes they put him in the slot and they have him run a slant and stuff like that. Like do something like that. These sideways ass screens that you like to throw to Robert Woods, do those with Joe Mixon. Like get Joe Mixon freaking involved in the pass game. Like you're not gonna have a situation where Robert Woods, John Mechie, Xavier Hutchinson like completely change the game. You could maybe get like one random ass 25-yard catch by John Mechie and he does like a karate chop first down or whatever. But you like as far as like establishing something that has staying power that you can get done, where the hell has this been? Like get this going. We've heard through back channels that they at least know that Joe Mixon can do this.
Yeah.
They've just failed to establish it. This is not a mystery. So while you're sitting there crying about Tank Dell being hurt and all these injuries, get Joe Mixon involved in the pass game. This should be, I should not have to scream this. This should be a given. Give me the over on the 3.5 because I'm hoping that
damn it, Bobby
has some sort of common sense to where he sees that that's a possibility.
Got to. I mean, and CJ missed Joe early in the Ravens game, one of those throws that he needs to make. So when given that opportunity, Stroud's got to hit those throws. And man, he could really change the course of this game, being some of those short, successful passes that you could trust him with. I'm totally with you. Get Joe going.
Like you remember when like there used to be a time where there were coaches and there was like analysts that would say, this JJ Watt guy is a hell of a game breaker. He's a hell, but you can take advantage of his aggression and you can like you run right at him or you do that, you do things and misdirect and stuff. That's what you can do with Derwin James. Like if Derwin James is in the box or something like that, and you can get Joe Mixon out there on like a slant or something, or like throw it to the side, take advantage of that. Mm-hmm. You don't have receivers. Joe Mixon is a dog. Okay. A lot of times the run game's not there. And a lot of times there's been situations where the run blocking hasn't been good. And Joe Mixon has been able to find a way and use his will and his alpha energy to be able to overcome that. We saw that on the first drive last week where they're pulling Titus Howard. He goes the opposite way of the play because of his instincts. But there's also times where you're just depending on these guys to block well, and there's nothing there. It's like after the Tennessee game, you hear DeMeco Ryans come out, well, we lost because we didn't run the ball. Did y'all really go into that game with Tavondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons pissed off saying we're going to run the ball? If y'all thought that, then y'all needed to do that to win, then that's a you problem. So find other ways to get Joe Mixon involved in this thing. And, we don't have another receiving threat. Get it to Joe Mixon. Pisses me off. Get the damn ball to Joe Mixon in more ways than one. Oh, he better have at least 5 catches. Or else he better be running the ball very well.
At the very least 4.
Yeah. Get him the damn ball. Seriously.
I'm with you.
All right. That's all I got today. I'm fired up for this Texas game too. So, you know how I get before Texas games. The blood gets boiling a little bit.
Yep.
I get a little bit rowdy. I don't like that I woke up with a little bit of confidence. I hate myself for that. But just get Joe Mixon the damn ball. Okay? That's all I'm asking. Okay, don't rely on Titus Howard's run blocking to have Joe Mixon make some sort of impact in this game. All right, I'm done.
Okay. Couple super chats from Evan. Chargers doesn't strike any fear to me. We good.
Shouldn't.
And then he says, what weapons besides 15, which is rookie wide receiver Ladd McConkey, are you worried about? I would say
if he plays.
I would say worried is like probably too much to say. Like you have to account for Quentin Johnston. But worried is probably not the way I would phrase it about him. You have to account for him, but I'm not worried about him. Disley, they've thrown the ball to him a couple times, but
I mean, if you're worried to me is like, and even like McConkey, he's good, but I mean,
There's no Jamar Chase in this game.
No.
Where you're like, oh God, he's covered, but he's not actually covered. Like, there's no Jamar Chase in this.
No, there's not. So we'll see how it goes. UT has their hands full today. No duh. Sure. That's thank you, Rick, for the breaking.
Hey, thanks, take it easy on the people in the chat. Just because you woke up with confidence doesn't mean that
no,
it's talking smack.
Unhealthy confidence. No, I like Rick. Rick's my boy, man.
Did you buy a new shirt?
Nah, there wasn't the feel of a winner there, man.
Nothing spoke to you, huh?
There wasn't the feel of a winner there, Just wasn't anything that stuck out at the mall today.
Well,
the little mall walking.
Sometimes the purchase you don't make is the one. No sense.
He says Landry, stop hyping up Johnston. 90% of the time, he's got the awareness and ball skills of Helen Keller. Yeah,
he will drop one.
I will agree with you on that, but I will also say that the Texans have been vulnerable at times to kind of let random ass guys get loose. Look at some of the guys that have randomly made big plays against them. So that's the whole thing. I don't think there's like a margin for error. Do I think it's going to be an early and often display from Quentin Johnston? No, I don't think so.
I haven't looked, but I have a sneaky suspicion that Ashton Doolin's only touchdown reception of the year was week 1 against the Texans. I'm about to pull it up. I was correct. In fact, Ashton Doolin had one other catch the entire season.
Yeah. Doolin, Naylor had a hell of a day, although he's okay. He had a good day. The freaking Tennessee tight end, I know he's good. He had a good year, but God dang, he ain't going 70 yards
right
any other time. Yeah, it's
who's the kick return? Turpin had just a
Turpin. That might have been his only receiving touchdown of the season.
That was Turpin took it to the
in
house
the slot against Akuda Boutte against Stingley. By the way, against Stingley.
Yeah, that did not make the All-Pro highlight reel.
Yeah, there's been some times when vertically you've seen guys get loose and
Kevontae Turpin had one other receiving touchdown.
How long was it?
23 yards, I think.
Okay. Well, how long was the one against the Texans?
64.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah. So there's been a handful of like, who the hell is getting the Texans today? There've been a handful of. By the way, DJ Chark is on the Chargers. Did you know that?
Yeah, remember when he was like the like dark horse of the AFC South?
Oh yeah, people thought he was going to be awesome.
Yeah, they've had some random ass like.
Awesome.
Remember Chenault?
Laviska Chenault, yes. Colorado, I believe, right?
Yeah, and he had the one good year, and then you thought that Urban Meyer was going to use him Percy Harvin like.
Laviska Chenault, yeah, Colorado.
Shout out to him.
The Texans. Every team has this, but like there was a player against the Chargers way back in the day. It was like a Sunday. It's like a noon game, I think. I don't recall exactly what year it was, but Seji Rayatutu or something, and he went off for like 180 something yards and like 2 touchdowns on the Texans, and he never did anything else in the rest of his career. And I never forget about that. I wish I could remember his name.
It'd be nice if the Texans could have like a rando. It's going to be Quintariano. Quintariano season.
He's not even going to be able to play, unfortunately. And by I say unfortunately, I mean fortunately.
He's on the injury report.
Yeah, so he's not. They're not activating him, so he's not playing.
Cade Stover time then.
Well, you know what? I wouldn't mind it.
9-1. 9-1 right now to score a touchdown. That Cade Stover fella.
Ooh, 9-1.
9-1. It's over.
Does anybody remember the Chargers wide receiver I'm talking about?
Evan says, get fired up. Come on, bro. I'm fired up, man. It's playoff time, baby. Less than 2 hours away. See how this goes. Patrick, don't say Jamal Hill. I'm done with that. You got to stop this. This community is way too Jamal Hill.
I think Patrick's doing it ironically.
No, I know. But Patrick has a grasp of what the community is, and he's bringing light. He's bringing light to the Jamal Hill movement. I don't think it's a wasted Jamal Hill year. I think it's just this is what Jamal Hill is.
I found the guy's name.
Yeah. Only you cared about that, so I'm glad you feel better about yourself.
Shea Azira-Tutu.
Okay. There you go.
It was his. Hold on, I'm not done. It was his rookie season, and he had 4 for 111 and 2 touchdowns against the Texans. Yep, 2010. So dark times.
All right, well, people, the time is here. The playoffs begin in less than 24 hours. We will be at NRG. And you just made Cody belly laugh.
I love a good pun.
Jamal Pro. Okay.
James.
Enjoy the pigskin. We got you covered. Whether we're covering the offseason next week or not, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Take it away, belly laugh.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.